hope you guys have gone through the first lecture, induction lecture, but you haven't. We'll be covering some of the basics as well. तो ठीक है, अगर आपने नहीं देखा then also it's fine. But let's start now. We will be starting with section B, which I like to call the strategy section. Textbook में you will read it as planning, budgeting, and forecasting. But if you look at the essence or crux of this section, it's all about strategy. तो उसके लिए let's understand with a very critical aspect of what is a business and how is a business structured. ठीक है, business I'll maybe overall categorize into two parts. One is a startup phase business, and then one is established business. Chalo, and let's make this interactive. So in the last class or in the welcome call, I had given a very simple question that what makes a business a startup? Abul, what do you think? What makes a business a startup?
Sorry, startup business we are planning to start a new business, then we are initiate our investment.
Hmm. So
And
typically age of business is less than 10 years,
any,
typically. Yes.
yeah.
Another thing, this company is in a growth phase, and a growth phase means likely to grow beyond 15 to 20% per year, per annum. Some of the typical characteristics. Third, most important, when we talk about startup, it is something new in terms of either product offered or service offered, which is either trying to compete with existing one or create a new category. This is how you typically categorize a startup. But when we talk about established firms, usually the age of the company is more than 10 years. Secondly, growth had slowed down. So growth will be between 5 to 15%, usually not more than that. Third one is they have good amount of, or let me call it, large volume of customers already. Also profits and let me call it revenue, profits or revenue. So good amount of profit and revenue in place plus large volume of customers in place already. This is how you would typically categorize business into startup and established phase. But let's deep dive into these two categories और वहां से आज की शुरुआत करते हैं. Whenever a business is formed, there are usually three layers to it. Let's talk about the startup phase. When we talk about a startup phase, we have someone sitting at the top, which is usually the founder, who is pretty much the C-suite as well, and यहाँ पे other executives. So we got co-founder, we got chief marketing officer, जो भी है, the whole senior management is pretty much over here. And there is a possibility, if it is a bootstrapped, Ajay, how many of you know what is bootstrapped? Anyone?
The company in which 100% equity is with the founders.
Awesome, Hriday. Bootstrap means founders have funded the company. Founders have funded the company. So there is no upper layer of investors as such. There is no upper layer of investors as such when it is bootstrapped. But let's say if the company plans or the startup plans to raise funds, go to an investor, take money. Now, investor could be any. It could be an HNI. HNI stands for high net worth individuals, basically a rich person. So it could be an HNI. It could be an institution. Institution means as simple as, let's say, mutual fund. We got hedge funds coming in. Hedge funds you guys might not know, but mutual funds तो I hope आपने सुना होगा, TV पे दिखाते हैं. So going to an institution, taking money from them, or you can go to a venture capital firm. What are venture capital firm? Something very similar to Shark Tank, that there are few investors who invest money in your firms. That's it. Then we have, the list pretty much goes on. We have private equity and so on. Private equity, venture capital, very similar. It's just that the scale is different. So this is where external investors step in. So let me again categorize this into different layers. This is layer 1, layer 1. This is layer 2. And after this, when you are running a company, below C-suite, you have middle management and lower management, which we can call as layer. This is how a business is structured. And if we talk about now See, in this section, we just want to focus on strategy. So I think Hriday had answered right now. Hriday, so my question back to you.
Yes, sir.
If the company is forming a strategy, which layer would be working on the strategy part? Would it be the investor part? Would it be the C-suite layer 2? Or would it be middle management or lower management?
Sir, founders and executives.
Amazing. See, most of the strategy work, when we talk about planning, budgeting, and forecasting. When we talk about this part, it is completely this layer, the senior management, we can also call it senior management, or rather the founder, C-suite, executive layer, senior management layer that is working on the strategy part. The only catch over here is that whenever these guys are working on the strategy part, these guys will need to run it by layer 1. Layer 1 say we have approval, then layer 2 will take their plans to layer 3, and there would be collective execution by the firm. Collective execution by the firm. Now I have an interesting question for you guys. When we talk about this part, it is completely this layer, the senior management, we can also call it senior management, or rather the founder, C-suite, executive layer, senior management layer that is working on the strategy part. The only catch over here is that whenever these guys are working on the strategy part, these guys will need to run it by layer 1. Layer 1 say we have approval, then layer 2 will take their plans to layer 3, and there would be collective execution by the firm. Collective execution by the firm. Now I have an interesting question for you guys. Why do we need an approval from layer 1? Why do we need an approval from our investors?
Sir, because they're investing a huge amount in the company.
I agree. But something more. What is, let me ask it in
As
this
they
way.
are also the part of ownership of the company.
Yes, they are not part, they are the owners, they are the main investors, but
They have voting right.
they have voting rights. Correct. Now we are going in the right direction. They have voting rights. That is number one. But what is objective of a company? That's my question to you guys.
So because of giving them high shareholder value, share value.
Higher shareholder value is also, I agree. But
So
when a
they are
let,
seeing that profit is going or loss, then they suggest to invest or not.
exactly. Now you are almost there, but let me rephrase what Aditya said. See, when we talk about objective of a company, what is objective? Why is this company even formed? Objective of a company, मतलब वो तो बाद में आता है कि we are providing product services, we are solving some problem. That is secondary to any company, and that is unfortunate. ठीक है. Objective of any company in this world is a simple thing, that is wealth maximization. Wealth maximization of shareholders. Maximization of shareholders. And how do we do this? Someone already answered it. Profits. So even when the founder, C-suite executives, everyone is planning around the execution, they need approval, because the approval will make sure that these guys are in favor of their own shareholder, wealth maximization or highest profitability. This is how I think category 1 of our businesses work, the startup category. Let me take a quick vote over here. If you have understood this structure of a business, then can I get a Y in the chat? If you haven't understood, give me an N in the chat. Then you can ask me your doubts.
Sir, how should we make the notes?
How should we
Make notes.
make notes? So time being, I would say I will highlight whatever needs to be noted down. This is something you can maybe write a line for yourself. Abhi bas layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 bana lo. That would be enough for now.
Okay, thank you.
Because you will be getting access to my PPTs. ये जो भी PPT मैं दिखा रहा हूँ. So whatever is relevant to the exam, you have it. But if I'm solving some case study example, you may note it down. Okay, let me check your votes till now. I at least need 80% votes to move ahead. Oh, great. We have. It's a full house. So now I just want to also showcase you guys a small tweak when we move from a startup structure to an established structure. Established in the sense, let me give you some examples. If we talk about, let's say, ITC or Hindustan Unilever or Maruti Suzuki or Royal Enfield for that matter, not Royal Enfield, it's Eicher Motors. Eicher Motors. See, these companies have been around for quite some time. We cannot call them a startup. They are not a startup anymore. They are well-established companies. So when these companies are into place, how does a business structure changes? See, I'll actually showcase you a journey over here. इसके लिए हम Zomato का example लेते हैं. See, Zomato started, we had our founder who was
Dipinder Goyal.
spot on, Dipinder Goyal. Later on, he needed, he invested, it was pretty much bootstrapped at the beginning, but then he went to an investor and he got on board